Hey everyone, Mr. Sujano here, your source for gaming tech, emulation, and open source news. Let's get started. Alright, to kick things off, we're talking about Nintendo Switch emulation with one of the last remaining Ryujinx forks out there, which was Ryubing. Anyways, here it appears that Ryubing has been DMCA'd. So here's their official announcement over on Discord. We have received a DMCA notice. Development on GitHub will cease immediately, but development is not ceasing. Update your emulator to get the new release branch and not be cut off from updates. You all have 16 hours until the repository is gone. Back it up and download artifacts if you want. At this time, the Discord is not going to be deleted. And as we saw, the GitHub has been taken down. I've got no idea what this means for the future of Ryubing or Ryujinx. I'm assuming there's a bunch of forks already out there considering this was free and open source and, well, forkable. And I'm assuming a lot of people did fork that in the meantime. We'll have to wait and see on this and whatever the future of this is going to be, but let me know your thoughts about this one. Next up, this is more of just a friendly heads up. We're talking about DXVK and it just got a brand new release. DXVK is a Vulkan-based implementation of Direct3D 8, 9, 10, and 11 for Linux and also Wine. Now, the reason I say this is mostly just a friendly heads up is because if you use something like Steam with Proton, Proton will automatically pull these updates in when Proton gets updated. Anyways, here if you are on Winlator, you can manually update this yourself, or you can probably wait for the next release of Winlator that should be updating this. So at the time of filming, version 2.6 is the latest update, and they say here that NVIDIA Reflex support can be enabled in Direct3D 11 games that support it. For example, God of War, Overwatch 2, and Quake Champions, and more. And there's a whole bunch of bug fixes and improvements. And fixes for stuff like Assassin's Creed, Watch Dogs, Stalker, Clear Sky, and more, and stuff for Baldur's Gate. There is quite a bit in here. If you are curious about this one and wanted to learn more about it, like everything we talk about, links are in the description below right at the bottom. And you can even read up on the games and even the specific fixes if you want. Next up here, if you're a fan of the Sega Dreamcast and a fan of Speed Devils Online Racing, you're probably going to be a big fan of this news. There's a brand new video here from Dreamcastic Channel, and it's titled Speed Devils Online Racing is Back Online. I would say this is a big win for game preservation overall, and maybe even a big win for fun. If you are curious about this one, I do recommend watching the YouTube video. It's very detailed, it shows a lot. And on top of that, they've got links in the description, including a connection guide. Next up, we're talking about Retroid, and it seems that pre-orders for the upcoming Retroid Pocket Classic and Retroid Pocket Flip 2 are up soon. Anyways, here the upcoming Retroid Pocket Classic is priced at $129, and interestingly, this price doesn't change when I change models. There are two different versions here, one with 4 gigs of RAM and 64 gigs of storage, and one with 6 gigs of RAM and 128 gigs of storage. And unfortunately here, I don't know what CPU is in this, which is really weird to have a pre-order priced at $129. When we don't even know what's powering this. Interestingly, there are a whole bunch of different models here and a bit of a different variation too between some of these models. I mean, if you take a look, one of them here has 6 face buttons and a lot of them just have 4 face buttons. And I'm wondering if this is working. Now it's working. So the 4 gig model is going to be $119 and the 6 gig model is going to be $129. I don't exactly know what's going on here in terms of what is powering this. And that to me is a little bit alarming. I will say they do look pretty cool though. If I were to pick up any of the Retroid Pocket Classics, I'd probably pick up the one with 6 face buttons because I think that would be very great for fighting games and, well, a whole bunch of games in general. I'm not always a fan of the back paddles on these things, and well, I think having 6 face buttons will be very, very convenient. And as for the Retroid Pocket Flip 2, it's priced at $229 for the Snapdragon 865 CPU version, or you can pick up the MediaTek Dimensity 1100 version for $199. I would say well, it's a bit of a price difference here. I mean, $20. I'd say the $20 is probably worth it to pick up the Snapdragon 865. Anyways, here there are 4 different colors. My favorite one is the 16-bit US, but the GameCube one doesn't look too bad either. The black one looks pretty cool too. I'm not really a big fan of the ice blue one. Anyways, let me know your thoughts about these. Me personally, I'm not really interested in picking up a Retroid Pocket based on previous experiences with the screen on the model we talked about in previous videos. I'd probably wait just to see how these things are and then maybe pick one up, because it seems as soon as you pick one of these up, you're probably stuck with it. And that's just a problem with some of these small companies that can't really afford to do a recall of every single device they sell and fix them. So we'll have to wait and see on this one. But for me personally, I'm waiting and not pre-ordering and just seeing how they are and seeing if they are a must-have. And the other big reason that's holding me back from pre-ordering is I don't know what CPU is in this. I'm not going to pre-order a device where I don't know what's powering it, because what's powering it could dictate whether or not I'm actually interested in it or not. The CPU, I would say, is one of the biggest things in this. But let me know your thoughts about these in the comments below, and if you're interested in either one. I would say the pricing here is reasonable for these handhelds. Well, maybe reasonable. Again, I don't know what's powering this. All we've got to go on is that it's running Android 14 and it's got a Qualcomm CPU. You can do some research to try to speculate what exactly it might be. But that's all it would be, is just speculation. I wish they would have told us. I mean, I don't understand why they wouldn't. And speaking about pre-orders and stuff, not really pre-orders, but I guess stuff that hasn't released yet. There we go. Talking about stuff that hasn't released yet, next up we're talking about the Nintendo Switch 2. And it's being predicted that the Nintendo Switch 2 will cost $400 plus. Take this one with a grain of salt, but it might be accurate. So based on my understanding here, it seems that this whole pricing thing started out over on Bloomberg. It was some analysis and some prediction, but nothing based in actual truth from Nintendo. We don't know the price of these things yet. We don't know anything just yet until Nintendo says something or a retailer leaks something. Either way here, a lot of people are taking this $400 plus as fact, and I would say just take it with a grain of salt so far, and we'll have to wait and see. Is it plausible? I would say very much so, but at the same time, we don't know. Don't get me wrong here, I know a lot of analysis goes into this stuff, but at the same time here, you can say almost anything at this point, and it may be right, it may not be. I mean, I could say, you know what, the Switch 2 is going to cost more than $50, and the Switch 2 is going to have a Zelda game on it at some point, and a Mario game on it at some point, and maybe a Donkey Kong game on it at some point. And maybe there's going to be some multiplayer games and some online multiplayer games for it. And you know what? All of my predictions would be probably right. But let me know your thoughts about this one in the comments below. What do you think the Switch 2 is going to be priced at? Do you think it will be priced at, I don't know, $100 more than the Switch was, so priced at around $400? Do you think it's going to be priced at, I don't know, $450? Or do you think it's going to be even higher than that? Or do you think it's going to be lower? I really don't know here. We're all just speculating at this point, but I am curious to see what a lot of people think. Next up here, we're talking about Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. And if you play this game, you may be excited about this brand new patch version 1.2. They say there's over 1,000 fixes in it. In addition to that stuff, and I'm not certain if the 1,000 number factors in the optimizations, the improvements, the performance improvements, and even more here, I don't know. But there's been a whole bunch of tweaks and balancing changes. There's now a barbershop where you can change, I guess, your beard and hairstyle. And on top of that, modding is now supported. We're not going to go through the whole patch notes here because we will be here a while. So if you've got, I don't know, like an hour or so to spend, if you want to read every single one of these like 1,000 lines, by all means, go on and do it. I would say overall, this is a very big update for the game, and hopefully people like it. And speaking about things people will like, next up, we're talking about Palworld, which is still in a lawsuit with Nintendo. Anyways, Palworld has just announced that Crossplay will be released late March, which is this month. They say here that Crossplay will be supported between all currently released platforms, including Steam, Xbox, PlayStation 5, and Mac. And also they're adding the ability to move pals between worlds. And speaking about stuff releasing, next up we're talking about Half-Life 2 RTX. The demo for this game is releasing on March 18th. The Steam store page is live. And Nvidia has just released RTX Remix. I think this is going to be something very exciting, at least to test out and take a look at, but let me know your thoughts about this one. They've got a trailer up on YouTube. The Steam store page is live. The Steam store page doesn't show the date, but they do say in the description of this video it is being released on March 18th. And speaking about trailers, next up here we're talking about Twilight Monk, and if you're a fan of RPG Metroidvanias that are 2.5D, you might be excited about this game here. This game is releasing on March 27th, at least it says that on Steam, although the trailer does say March 26th. Anyways, this game looks interesting to me at the very least. It does have a whole bunch of stuff in it. I like the art style, I like the concept of it. and it was a part of Steam Next Fest. I didn't get a chance to play the demo, but I'm very curious to see how people like this game. If you had a chance to play Twilight Monk during Steam Next Fest, let me know your thoughts about it in the comments below. There were just so many demos out there I didn't get a chance to get to this one. But this one is on my radar, and you can see it there, March 26th, although Steam does say March 27th, at least for me. Next up here, we're talking about Google and Google Play and PC gaming, and this news is pretty big here. Google seems to be really ramping up their effort to have mobile games or Google Play games available on PC. I could be wrong here, but I think a lot of Android developers will be happy about this news, considering it'll widen their audience considerably. Google plans on, I think, bringing every single one of their mobile games to be available on PC, and also vice versa. They say here in the article, Google Play Games is expanding its library with a wider range of PC games, opening up the platform to more PC-only games. And they also say the full Google Play Games on PC catalog will now also be available on more devices, including AMD laptops and desktops. They go on to say starting this month, titles like Dredge and Tabs Mobile are coming to Google Play, and later this year they look forward to even more PC games on Android devices like Disco Elysium. Now, I don't know about you, but I'd say this is a big win overall for gamers, both on PC and mobile, if Google continues down this path of making their games more accessible on different platforms. Well, that's just better for everyone. Yes, you may not like some of these games, but at the same time, a lot of people do. And on a side note here, if you are curious about Disco Elysium on Android, they have released a reveal trailer. You can see how the game is up and running on mobile, and, well, the opinions on this one seem to be very mixed. I mean, here are some of the comments on that video. Dislikes disabled by owner. Well, it became immediately obvious y'all fired the creators. How about you give Disco Elysium back to the people who actually made it? Not gonna give you money, thieves, and just pirate the game if you want to play it. Don't give these actual thieves any money. But I don't know, let me know your thoughts about this one in the comments below, and let me know your thoughts about the whole Google Play PC mobile situation as well in the comments below. And taking a look at the comments on this video again, and I think me saying mixed opinions is being extremely generous. Next up here, we're talking about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the arcade game on Game Boy Color. This game never officially released on the Game Boy Color, but it seems someone has ported a tech demo over to the Game Boy Color, and it's up on itch.io. The size of this game is not very big at all. It's about half a megabyte, give or take. And if I take a look here, it is in .gbc format, so it should work in emulators and also in your browser. I'm not going to lie here, getting this game running on the Game Boy Color and looking like this to me is pretty impressive. And speaking about impressive, next up we're talking about Simple Launcher, which is a free and open source emulation front end, and it just got a big new update. So at the time of filming, version 3.11 is the latest release. Now we've got some bug fixes, some optimizations, and some brand new features here. They've updated the main database to the latest version. They've implemented the Feeling Luck button on the main window. This button will pick a random game for the selected system. And they've added play history window and all the logic to implement it. Users can now see which games they've been played and for how long. And speaking about emulation front ends, last up here we're talking about Emuze, which is an emulation launcher that is fast and simple as possible. And this one just got a brand new update. So at the time of filming, version 0.54.0 is the latest update. And this one is interesting for a few different reasons. First and foremost, they've updated the bundle Ryujinx to version 1.2.86. And I'm not certain if that's Ryubing or not. That was just taken down. So that is worth pointing out here. They've updated Ares and Dolphin. And on top of that, the import time has been significantly reduced. But anyways, that is all I've got for you in this one. Straight to the point, all stuff and no fluff. She is upstairs asleep in her box in the window watching the birds. It's getting near spring and the birds are very active and she's very interested. Anyways, we talked about a bunch today. Feel free to discuss anything we talked about in the comments below. If you like this video, leave a like. If you didn't like this video, leave a like. Hit that subscribe button. Check out my other videos. Don't tempt fate. Save your state. And I'll see you tomorrow.